Previously, Aaroen tells Fate that Fate's eye color changes when he does not kill the monster. It seems Aaroen knows something about that because he is aware that not killing anyone will increase the burden on Fate's soul. He advises Fate to return to him when he completes his mission because he wants to share something with him. On the other hand, Raphael and Memel find a Philosopher's Stone. It has the ability to heal wounds, so Memel gets so excited that, with its help, she can unveil the secret of achieving immortality. Suddenly, a servant enters the room and shares that the holy knight Hado was killed by the corpse. Raphael gets so angry to learn about Hado's death. Now, Aaroen gives a big bag of food to Fate when he says goodbye. He gets in the carriage with Myne, and she begins eating as if she is very hungry. Fate watches her with such surprise that he still doubts if her deadly sin is indeed gluttony. But Myne assures him once again that he is wrong. Wrath needs a lot of energy, and for that, she consumes a lot of food. His sword, Greed, reminds him that they already had the discussion, and they had to stop at Hausen after the distasteful disagreement. So, he must stop. At this time, Myne also offers him a piece of food, so he stops getting mad at her. Then she gets up from her seat and sits closer to Fate. He is so surprised by her unexpected change of behavior. It seems she is full now and feeling drowsy. She puts her head on his shoulder and says that his shoulder is a softer place, so she prefers to sleep there. But she dislikes that he keeps talking, so Fate stops talking. Surprisingly, she looks like a little kid in her sleep. However, Fate remembers that she told him that she is so old. After living for such a long time, she cannot die of her own will. Also, he remembers that she has something to do. He asks Greed, as he expects that he must know that. Who is the one she is fighting against? But Greed refuses to say anything and advises him to remain closer to Myne to know what she is fighting against. But Fate gets worried thinking that it must be another adventure to find out. As soon as their carriage gets out of Hausen, Lady Roxy and her companions reach Hausen. She tells them that they are near the border. Suddenly, Miria looks at the castle in the town and admires its grandeur and beauty. Roxy shares that it's the castle of the Barbados family. She knew that Aaroen Barbados used to live there. But in a battle with the Lich Lord, he lost his castle and the whole family. But when they get closer to the castle, they feel that it does not look like a monster is there any longer. At the same time, Aaroen Barbados comes to them and welcomes their arrival in town. Looking at him, Mugen bends down, knowing that Aaroen is an expert swordsman called the Blade of Light. Aaroen tells Roxy that she has grown a lot. She gets so surprised that he knows her. Aaroen says that he knows their family, and in fact, she suggested her name to her father when she was born. Roxy feels honored but shares that her parents never told her anything about it. Aaroen says that he failed to protect his people, so he chose to retire. But Roxy wants to know, did he kill the Lich Lord? Aaroen shares the truth that he was not alone in that. There was a brave warrior who fought alongside him and brought them victory. Roxy wants to know the name of the warrior as she intends to share the incident and the name of the warrior in the capital. But Aaroen remembers what Fate requested when he left Hausen, that he did not want anyone to know about him as a warrior. Suddenly, Aaroen asks them if they are heading to Galia. His accurate guess surprises them. But Aaroen shares that he knows that the Velarics were never sincere with the Barbados and Hart families. That's why they sent her on a dangerous mission. But Roxy shares that she came on the mission of her own will, as she wanted to do something for her people. Aaroen gets sad to hear about the death of Roxy's father, Mason. Then he offers her that he can teach her swordsmanship skills. He wants her to win in Galia. Roxy gets so happy to hear it and accepts to be his trainee. During the training, Aaroen sees the style of her father in her fight. On the other hand, after the carriage drops them at a point, Fate and Myne keep walking until they reach a ruin. Myne sadly shares that this is the place where she was born, but she doesn't remember much of this area as she soon left to live in the capital. Fate surprisingly guesses her age, as this destruction happened about 4,000 years ago. Suddenly, they see a red ball in the middle of the ruin. Greed tells him that it's a chimera and a hidden weapon that the Galia army tested in old times. It's actually a kind of enclosure with a monster inside. They tried to destroy all of them and succeeded, but this chimera is still present. Myne asks him to help her fight against this chimera. Fate begins checking the stats of the monster inside it, but he cannot see anything. Greed shares that the chimera is in the larval state and has mixed monsters inside. That's why he can't see the stats. Myne wants him to eat the soul because, no matter how much they damage the body, the monster will not die until its soul is intact. Fate understands that he needs to use his gluttony skill. But as soon as the fight begins, he sees the big chimera, but right in its chest, he sees a trapped girl with red eyes like his. He refuses to attack the innocent soul, as he knows if he attacks it, she will live in hell forever. Myne advises him to just attack and not judge the girl by her appearance. He cannot imagine how dangerous she is. Suddenly, the chimera makes a red ring, and lava forms from it. They run to save themselves while Greed tells him that the scythe does not have the power to cut lava. Now Myne cuts the lava with her axe, and they both decide to cut the chimera into pieces. The petrifying magic from the scythe destroys the chimera for a while. but it regenerates in a moment. Now they know that the chimera is actually a powerful weapon. Suddenly, Myne attacks with her axe and it hits the chimera hard. So it metamorphoses into a winged chimera. Myne knows that it can harm Fate, so she asks him to hide behind her. That angers Fate, as he is no longer a weak person. By hiding behind Myne, he would not become a powerful warrior for Lady Roxy. But Myne reminds him that each time she strikes the chimera, Fate's gluttony will take over. His eyes begin turning red, and he can't control the gluttony. But, as she knows that the chimera's wings explode when touched, Myne strikes the chimera with the axe, and it damages it. Before it regenerates again, Greed urges Fate to kill it with the scythe. But the chimera rapidly forms a shell around it to protect itself. Fate hits it, but it doesn't break. Then he hits the weakest point, which damages the chimera, and with its wings, it immediately flies into the sky. Fate's eyes begin bleeding with gluttony, so Myne asks him to get on her axe, and she sends him through it into the sky before the chimera regenerates and attacks them again. Greed tells him that once he reaches closer, it will need Fate's 20% stats to utilize its second-level secret skill. Fate grants permission, and as soon as he reaches closer, the girl in the center of the chimera makes a shell of fire that begins burning her and Fate. Greed tells him to strike right in the heart of the girl to kill the chimera. He attacks her with deadly inferno and pierces his scythe into her heart, and suddenly his telepathy skill is activated. Through that, he sees the girl hugging Myne. But as he falls down, his gluttony skill gets activated. But this time, he does not feel the happiness of a successful win. He tells Greed that his heart is heavy. Greed shares that the girl he attacked in the chimera was like him. Afterwards, he goes to Myne and asks if she knew the girl in the chimera. She stands near a gravestone and hides what she knows. She only shares that she will kill anyone who turns into a chimera because they kill innocent people. Hearing that, Fate gets terrified that he can become like the girl he killed. So he sadly asks Myne a favor: if he turns into a bad man one day with Berserk, she will kill him. She comes closer to Fate and hugs him. She promises to kill him and bring him out of misery. Fate gets the magic shield skill. Then Myne tells him that she has some work to do as she has to build a village. But Fate needs to go to Babylon. She expects that he will never see her again in his lifetime. Soon after parting ways, Fate enters Babylon. It's a city whose walls are made up of a strong alloy to prevent the attacks of dangerous monsters. He heads to the south side gate, while Galia is on the north side of the city. Greed shares all the things he knows about the city. Hence, Fate guesses that Greed must have been here before. Greed confirms that his previous master brought him here, but he died and left him in the ruins. He enters the north gate and is so surprised to see that food prices are 5 times higher than in the rest of the country. That's because supplying food to this part of the country is harder and more costly. Suddenly, a knight announces that their new lord has arrived. Fate wears his mask and is surprised to see that the people of Babylon accept Roxy as their new lord. Suddenly, he feels that someone whispered in his ear that Lady Roxy is going to die in Babylon. And that's the end of the 8th episode of Berserk of Gluttony. Please comment and let me know which anime recap you'd like to see next. As always, if you liked what you saw, subscribe to the channel. I'll be uploading a lot of videos just like this one, and I'll see you in the next one. Till then, goodbye.